The arrival gates at Toronto's Pearson International Airport hummed with their usual orchestrated chaos on Thursday morning, as passengers from around the world wheeled their luggage toward immigration counters, unaware that they were about to witness the culmination of one of Canada's most intensive manhunts. Among the travelers stepping off Ethiopian Airlines flight was a 25-year-old man from Brampton, Ontario, whose 9-month flight from justice was about to come to an abrupt and inevitable end. Navjeet Singh had no way of knowing that Peel Regional Police officers and agents from the Canada Border Services Agency were already positioned throughout the terminal, their radios crackling with confirmation codes, their eyes scanning every face that emerged from the jet bridge. The coordinated operation that was about to unfold represented not just the arrest of a fugitive, but a moment of reckoning for a trucking industry that has long grappled with questions of accountability, enforcement, and the devastating consequences when safety protocols are ignored. The story that brought Singh to this moment began 9 months earlier, on a cold November afternoon in rural Manitoba, where the peaceful intersection of Provincial Road 201 and Provincial Road 306, near the town of Altona, would become the site of an unspeakable tragedy. It was here, according to police allegations, that Singh's semi-trailer truck approached what should have been a routine stop sign, a simple red octagon that represents one of the most fundamental rules of the road, yet one that would allegedly be ignored with catastrophic consequences. The physics of what happened next tell a story that has been repeated too many times across North American highways, where the massive weight and momentum of commercial trucks transform even momentary lapses in judgment into scenes of devastating destruction. Police allege that Singh's semi-trailer, weighing tens of thousands of pounds and carrying the kinetic energy of its considerable mass, failed to stop at the intersection and struck a sport utility vehicle with such force that the smaller vehicle never had a chance. Inside that SUV was a 35-year-old mother, driving with the kind of everyday trust that millions of Canadians place in their fellow motorists every single day, believing that stop signs will be obeyed, that traffic laws will be respected, and that she would arrive safely at her destination. Beside her sat her 8-year-old daughter, a child whose life was just beginning to unfold, whose dreams and possibilities were as boundless as only a child's can be, and who placed complete faith in her mother's ability to keep her safe on what should have been an ordinary journey. The collision, as described in police reports, was both instantaneous and devastating, the kind of impact that transforms lives in the space between one heartbeat and the next. The mother was pronounced dead at the scene, her life ending in that rural Manitoba intersection, far from the urban centers where such tragedies often make headlines, but no less profound in its impact on her family, her community, and all those who would come to know her story. Her daughter, critically injured, was rushed to the hospital where medical teams fought desperately to save her young life. But the injuries proved too severe, and she succumbed to her wounds, joining her mother in a tragedy that would ripple outward like stones thrown into still water. In the immediate aftermath of the collision, as emergency responders worked to clear the scene, and investigators began the meticulous process of reconstructing what had happened, Navjeet Singh made a decision that would transform him from the subject of a traffic investigation into the target of a nationwide manhunt. Rather than remaining to face the consequences of his alleged actions, rather than cooperating with the investigation, or accepting responsibility for what police say was a clear violation of traffic laws, Singh chose to flee, disappearing into a country of nearly 40 million people, where anonymity can be both blessing and curse. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Canada's federal police force that traces its history back to the frontier days of the 19th century, found themselves faced with the kind of challenge that has become increasingly common in our interconnected world, where national borders can be crossed with relative ease, where international travel can transform local fugitives into global problems, and where the long arm of the law must sometimes reach across oceans to find justice. The search for Singh would involve not just traditional police work, but international cooperation, diplomatic channels, and the kind of patient, methodical investigation that characterizes modern law enforcement. As weeks turned to months, the case of Navjeet Singh became emblematic of larger questions about accountability within Canada's trucking industry, an economic sector that employs hundreds of thousands of Canadians and moves billions of dollars worth of goods across the continent every single day. The trucking industry, which forms the backbone of North American commerce, transporting everything from fresh produce to manufactured goods across thousands of miles of highways, has long struggled with questions about training standards, enforcement mechanisms, and the consequences when drivers fail to meet the enormous responsibilities that come with operating vehicles that can weigh as much as 80,000 pounds. The tragedy in Manitoba occurred against the backdrop of ongoing discussions about commercial vehicle safety. Discussions that have taken on new urgency as traffic volumes have increased, as supply chain pressures have intensified, and as the consequences of accidents involving large trucks have become increasingly apparent to policymakers, safety advocates, and the general public. Commercial truck drivers, who must obtain special licenses and undergo extensive training, are held to higher standards than ordinary motorists precisely because the vehicles they operate can cause such devastating damage when things go wrong. The legal framework surrounding commercial vehicle operations in Canada reflects this reality, with enhanced penalties for violations, stricter licensing requirements, and additional responsibilities that recognize the unique position that truck drivers occupy on the nation's highways. When Singh was finally charged in November, the allegations he faced included 2 counts of dangerous operation of a motor vehicle, causing death, and 1 count of obstructing a police officer. Charges that carry significant penalties and reflect the seriousness with which Canadian law treats such violations. The 9-month search for Singh involved coordination between multiple law enforcement agencies, from local police forces to federal agencies, from border services to international partners who helped track his movements across national boundaries. The manhunt represented a significant investment of resources and personnel, a commitment to ensuring that even fugitives who flee the country cannot escape the consequences of their alleged actions, and a demonstration of the reach and persistence of modern law enforcement when motivated by the pursuit of justice. The moment of Singh's arrest at Pearson Airport represented not just the end of a lengthy investigation, but a reminder that in an age of global travel and international mobility, justice may be delayed but need not be denied. He was taken into custody by the waiting officers, as the handcuffs clicked into place and his rights were read in the familiar cadence of Canadian law enforcement. Singh's capture marked the beginning of what promises to be a complex legal process that will determine his guilt or innocence, and potentially provide some measure of closure to a family and community that has waited 9 long months for this moment. The case of Navjeet Singh serves as a sobering reminder of the responsibilities that come with operating commercial vehicles on public roadways, the devastating consequences when those responsibilities are allegedly ignored, and the determination of law enforcement agencies to pursue justice, regardless of how long it takes or how far fugitives may run. As Singh now faces the Canadian legal system that he spent 9 months trying to avoid, his case stands as both a tragedy for the victims and their families, and as a warning to others in the trucking industry about the serious consequences of failing to observe the fundamental safety rules that protect all users of Canada's highways. The story that began with a stop sign ignored at a rural Manitoba intersection and ended with an arrest at one of Canada's busiest airports represents far more than just another traffic case. It represents questions about responsibility, accountability, and the price that society pays when the trust that binds our communities together is broken by those who choose to put their own interests ahead of public safety. As we reflect on this tragic case that has finally reached its first milestone with Singh's arrest, we are reminded that justice, though sometimes delayed, remains an unwavering force in our society. The 9-month pursuit across international boundaries demonstrates the dedication of law enforcement agencies to ensure that no one, regardless of where they may flee, can escape the consequences of their alleged actions. This story serves as both a tribute to the memory of the mother and daughter, whose lives were cut tragically short, and as a stern warning to all who operate commercial vehicles on our highways, that safety is not negotiable and accountability is not optional. Thank you for watching this detailed coverage of a case that touches on some of the most important issues facing our transportation industry today. If you found this story informative and want to stay updated on more breaking news, investigations, and in-depth coverage of events that shape our communities, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell for West is Best. Your support helps us bring you comprehensive reporting on the stories that matter most. And do not forget to share this video with others who value thorough journalism and accountability in our justice system. Until next time, this has been West is Best, where we believe that staying informed is the first step toward building safer, more responsible communities.